He can turn out the lights and get into bed before the room goes dark. Well, Andrew Slack's not far behind him. He's been able to rush down to Lang Park during the commercial break. On a more serious note, these two teams last met back in 1979, and Britain won a torrid encounter by 10 points to 7, and lining up for Brisbane was Ross Strudwick. Of course, he's involved again tonight. He is the coach of Combined Brisbane. As they make their way out onto Lang Park, they'll be looking forward to giving Strudwick a winning farewell. He's off to Halifax to take up a coaching appointment in the English division. The fullbacks, Steve Hegarty. The wingers are Kelly Egan and Gordon Barwick. The centres are Brett McCarthy and Steve Cherry. The 5'8" Peter Coyne. Halfback Brett Daunt. Lock forward Darren Smith. Ian Staines and Haggarth are the second rowers. The props are Ponting and McIntyre, and the hooker Bill Holmes. Great Britain make their way out onto Lang Park. They're coached, of course, by Malcolm Reilly. I'll be looking forward to a win tonight. Here's how they line up. Phil Ford, Henderson Gill, Carl Gibson, Gary Schofield, David Stevenson are the centres. The 5'8" Hillary Hanley, halfback Mike Ford, Paul Dixon is the lock forward. The second rowers are Fairbank and Powell. The props are Crooks and Case, and the hooker is Paul Groves. Our commentators, as usual, Alan Thomas, Mick Vivers, and the very slick Andrew Slack. The referee is Mr. David Manson. Let's go straight to the kickoff.
And the two Davids in centre screen. Referee David Manson and the Great Britain centre David Stevenson kicks off this representative match in Brisbane. Straight into it, straight into the 22 with Ian Staines. And that's a nice progressive start from Brisbane right from the first tackle, Mick Vivers.
Oh, that was a very good attacking. Mike Ford felt the whole lot of that.
Staines again, just outside the 22. Well, what about a tip for the match, Farmer?
I think Great Britain will get away with this one.
Comfortably?
I think so. I hope not. I hope these young fellas go very well. It's the first time we've seen Brisbane, remember, without the so-called stars, or the stars, because they were stars. So they'll have to think for themselves, and we'll see if they can come up.
Andrew Slack, Great Britain got a bit to prove tonight. They've lost their last 3 on the trot, including the test.
Very much so, but I think, Alan, Saturday's performance in the test will have really boosted their confidence, and tonight we should see a really fired-up Great Britain team. Brisbane, on the other hand, they've got a lot to prove. They're young guys here who haven't had the chance this year in the wake of Broncos and other things, so Ross Strudwick really stressed to them to make the most of their opportunity. But I think a lot depends on the back row. Darren Smith, Glenn Haggarth and Ian Staines. If they perform, well, I think Brisbane could be in for a shot, but you'd have to think that Great Britain to win.
All right, I'm going for an upset. Groves to distribute. Now Hanley. Schofield. It's come off a Brisbane player. And that's play on. Ford. Mike Ford. Someone pick it up. Toe. And that should be a try. Not one of the prettiest ones you'll see. Gary Schofield will score. Great Britain in. They lead 4 points to 0, and that try started from their own 22.
Well, there's no doubt about it. They've got the speed, and as you see, they just ran it. After this, no doubt about it.
Well, Plenty ran into space.
Oh yes, but then.
And this is the decision off the.
Well, that's a top decision. It was quite correct. In actual fact, the Brisbane player tried to hold him. Now here it is. Brett Daunt trying to hold him back, and he got confused. He ended up with 2 Great Britain players there. But you see, once they, as you'll watch here, Hanley, once they hit the open, look, he's not even running all over the place. There's Schofield, no fool this lad. And there's Daunt. He followed it right through, Brett Daunt.
The bounce of the ball just favouring Great Britain because Great Britain, Ford got in front of Daunt. 4-0, try against the run of play, and he's just pushed that one a little bit wide. So 4 points to 0. Great Britain lead Brisbane. 8 minutes gone in the first half. Mark McIntyre.
Good run from the young lad McIntyre.
Now through Holmes, and Daunt's holding it up for Haggarth. Still trying to get the hands free. Oh, it's taken by Kelly Egan. Coming back in field, Egan. And he'll be tackled by Powell. Now Holmes giving it to Daunt.
No one there for Daunt.
Daunt has to take it on his own. Groves and Crooks will put him down.
Coyne left him posted. That's a mortal sin in this type of football.
Staines, only 5 metres out. Last tackle coming up. Daunt on his own. Linking over the top. McCarthy. Try. Yes. Brett McCarthy. Clever play from Brett Daunt. And Brisbane in the score, and it's 4 points apiece.
Well, I think either of the centres could have scored this. They were pointing to each other, and that was lovely play. It was, I don't know whether it was touched by a Brisbane player or a Great Britain player. We'll have a look here. Now, Daunt picks it up. Dummies. He was going to give it to Coyne, but didn't make it. Thank you very much.
Here we'll see whether it's capped. The bit might have gone backwards.
It was touched by a Great Britain player, so it was okay. Play on.
And Brett McCarthy in to score, so it's 4 points apiece. So Brisbane have done the right thing, Andrew Slack. They've hit back quickly.
Yeah, certainly have. And again, the class of Daunt shows he really is a super player and took the right option earlier in that move. He had nobody, so rather than throw the silly pass, he took it up and allowed the play to develop, which subsequently it did. He found the gap, and his great strength, or one of his great strengths, his passing, enabled the try to be scored. A good little player, Daunt, there's no doubt.
So now Hegarty to try and add the extras. We'll get a good view from our commentary position. And he's missed that too. Well, none out of 2. 4 points all the score, and there's 13 minutes gone in the first half.
Oh, well, he's not feeling too well.
Gary Schofield leaving the field. Now Groves. Now it's gone to Crooks, and Hanley looking to set things up, and he goes on a dummy. He found space. Here's a fire looming beside him. This will test Hegarty. Oh, he's got blinding speed, a fire. Hegarty was up 5 metres from him. He might as well have been in Caboolture. He had no hope. A fire under the post, and Great Britain lead by 8 points to 4.
Well, it seems that Ellery Hanley is the man causing Brisbane all the trouble. That's where the breaks are coming. Here it is, the big dummy. And not a bad fend off either. Away he goes, and there's 2 supports coming. There's a fire. Now, I felt for Steve Hegarty there. As you said, Caboolture? He may as well have been in Toowoomba.
Well, that was a great piece of work from Hanley. And the cover just not good enough. But he set a fire up beautifully. He actually had 2 options, didn't he? Easy could have went for Carl. Actually, it would have been easy for him to go to Gibson, probably on the inside. But a fire with a lot of speed, only on the park for about, 2 minutes. And he scored. The try has just been converted. And Great Britain now lead by 10 points to 4. Now here's Gibson coming on Hanley's inside, but he decided to go outside, and Hegarty had no possible. A fire just went with tremendous acceleration. Throws the arms out a bit wide when he runs, the big fellow, and a little bit of a cushion under the post. 10 points to 4 with the lead for Great Britain, and there's 15.5 minutes to go in the first half. That's Paul Groves. Now it's with Crooks. Dixon. I noticed Lee Crooks not as vigorous as he was against Manly a couple of weeks ago.
No, he's playing himself, I think, for a test spot.
Gill. Henderson Gill. Daunt couldn't hold him. Fairbank. Carl Fairbank all the way. Great Britain again. They lead now by 14 points to 4.
Well, it's once they start to move, they're most known. Now we see Brett Daunt. He tried to get a hold of him, but no chance. And the support play's coming very well for Great Britain. I must admit that Fairbank seemed to have plenty of speed. We'll see here. Where's Brett Daunt? Here he is. What a formidable task.
Henderson Gill just too strong. Fairbank backing up. Haggerty tripping over. Coyne coming too late. And I think he was coasting at the finish, Fairbank. I think he had a little bit of petrol in the tank. So Carl Fairbank in to score. And Great Britain now lead by 14 points to 4 with the kick to come. And the kicker is David Stevenson, the centre. Been able to score tries, Mick. I might just wait for this kick first. And that's away. So Great Britain lead by 14 points to 4. 8 minutes to go before the break. Outside their own 22 by a fraction, Great Britain. Back to Phil Ford. He's missed by Coyne. He's missed by Holmes. He's missed by Egan. Here's trouble. Oh, nice hands of fire. Here he goes. Martin of fire underneath the post. And it was the defensive work that was lacking from Brisbane. They missed vital tackles, and once again Great Britain have run from their own 22. 18 points to 4, and a fire a very, very happy man.
Well, he had two options, kick it or run. So Phil Ford said, I'll have a little bit of a run. And run he did. And what's this? Juggle. He took that from basically behind his back. And away he goes.
Kelly Egan giving chase. But
now watch this when he puts the ball down. Now watch him. Da, 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 da.
Afforded all the good work and great hands from Martin of fire. And he just had too much speed.
He's a contortionist.
The try's been converted in the meantime, and down he goes in the hands. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-ay. Yes. 20 points to 4 is the lead for Great Britain over Brisbane, and there's 6 minutes to go before half-time. Second half underway. Steve Haggerty puts his boot to the ball. 20 points to 4. Great Britain lead at the break. Let's go to Andrew Slack and find out what happened in the dressing rooms in both camps.
Well, if Malcolm Reilly's half-time talk was any indication, there's no way that Great Britain will be going into their shell in the second half. He really got on their case and mainly was concerned about the lack of concentration. He believed they dropped the ball far too many times in that first half. He wants them to improve on that area. Ross Strudwick for Brisbane, naturally enough, concerned about that defence in the last 15 minutes. That's the first thing that needs to be addressed by his players, and then to get some composure in their attack. Defence went downhill, so did their attack, which had looked good in that first 20 minutes or so.
Brisbane, any chance of coming back and making a go of this match, Farmer?
Well, I do hope so, but they'd have to tighten up. I was about to ask Andrew, as he was eavesdropping with his glass to his ear and on the wall, was Malcolm really up an octave, or is he just talking to them normally? Because I know he can go up a couple of octaves, Andrew.
Oh, he was very high, mate. He was tenor capacity, you might say, but a lot of it, as I said earlier on, I can't understand. Is the brogue's a bit tough for me, but it was very loud. I'd say there's a bit of paint off those walls.
Daines goes to dummy half. The Great Britain backs getting up very, very quickly as McCarthy gives a short pass to Langer. Inside to Egan. Kevin Langer just on the field, trying to create a gap for Kelly Egan. McCarthy goes to dummy half, a coin. That was forward. And what's the ruling? It's touched, play on, 6 to go. Coyne. Away to Langer. It's Kevin Langer to Haggard.
Possibly not the right man to be running there.
Now McIntyre. Mark McIntyre, only about 5 metres out from the line. Staines full bore, 2 metres out. Great Britain hanging on. Daunt, nowhere to go, tackled a metre out. They're shallow out wide on this side. Great Britain, but it goes to Haggarth, and they're trying to bury the way up the middle with nowhere to go, and that was a 6th tackle.
And that was a waste of time. They didn't move the ball. No one called it out or set play, and oh, here's trouble.
Here's a fire. Martin a fire. He's got away from Daunt. Oh, he's just got in the last minute. Martin a fire tackled, but Daunt just got him just as well because it was shut the gate with support looming. And Great Britain again running it from well inside their own territory. They ran it nearly from their own line. What's happening out wide there, Andrew?
Well, there's going to be major problems now, I think, Alan, because Kevin Langer, for all his courage and his great play as a halfback, I would think he'd be the first to admit he's not a wing, which is exactly where he's playing, and he's marking Martin a fire. Must be one of the speediest players around. Barwick's gone back to fullback, so we've got a halfback on one wing and we've got a centre three-quarter on the other.
Here's Hanley. Ball going loose. That'll be Brisbane's possession. Fairbank still going. So Great Britain are inside the 22. And they've run the ball in about 2 tackles, the best part of about 70 metres, so they're doing it well. And Brisbane are going to be pinked for up inside the 5.
And I think he saved Brisbane from a fate worse than death on that occasion. Oh, they were lined out deep, the Great Britain backs, and they were ready to roll.
David Stevenson, 50% tonight so far, and he shouldn't make any mistakes with us, and he doesn't. And Great Britain now lead by 22 points to 4.
They can't beat them with speed, and I think the Great Britain side have got a bit more ability out there than them. It's sad to say that, but this will only do these kids a heap of good. Get a bit of confidence. They'll know what they have to do to be top-class footballers.
So Great Britain are outside the Brisbane 22 now. Groves and a wraparound from Hanley. And that goes to Gibson. And he'll be tossed into the ground by Kelly Egan. A fire from dummy hard. Now it's back to Groves, to Crooks. And Powell running straight and running hard. Almost at the quarter. Well, Brisbane a little bit slow to get off the Great Britain player, Case.
Oh, if Brisbane weren't inside the 5 metres then, I'm not here.
Well, there's one player offside out here. Darren Smith by about 3 metres. So Hanley will run it up the middle. Ellery Hanley. Hanley, if he gets the pass to Ford, he'll score. They keep it alive. Mike Ford in to score. And Brisbane just can't regroup. They can't put the player on the ground. And Hanley was able to stand in the tackle from...
There's the big gap. Straight past David Manson now. Ooh.
The head-on. The head-on might show whether he... There's David Stevens.
No time for it. But
adds the extras. 28 points to 4. Great Britain lead and there's 17 minutes to go.
Great Britain 28, Brisbane 4.
So back for the restart, David Stevenson, the man on screen. The centre for Great Britain. He's 29 years of age, Stevenson. Made his test debut against the Kangaroos in 1982. That was at Wigan. He played in the second test. He's been around for a while. There he is, big fella. Now they got the numbers out wide. If they move it quickly here, Brisbane are a little bit short. Oh, Ford stepped. Now the backup's come. He wants to try and score on his own. He's muffed us everywhere he's gone. And then he threw a shocker. Well, he had no chance of looking. He made the break. He wanted to run a solo try. He had Blake's looming up everywhere and never had Bo Peep left, right or centre. Have a look at this.
Here's the replay. He got out of some very pitiful defence. Here's another attempt. And Brisbane, and I say we, end up with the ball.
Well, that was a try butchered by Great Britain.
He had players all around him. Support.
Wanted to be a hero. And not only did he end up a hero, I reckon he would have lost the girl in the end as well for that. Absolutely butchered that try. So Brisbane with Coyne and Barwick. Clever play from Coyne. Watching Great Britain, by golly, they had some fellas coming in cover just the same, Mick.
Yes, they're very speedy and they're playing pretty well. That's a good-looking kick.
You've seen a number of Great Britain teams over the years. You've seen the first test. You've seen this side tonight. I know you can't compare us, but what do you think of them?
Well, they're showing us what the Great Britain sides of old can do, given a bit of room to move and with a bit of speed.
I think we've got a change coming up in the meantime. We'll go to Andrew.
Yes, well, number 15 for Great Britain, Hugh Waddell, is coming onto the field, as is Chris White from South for Brisbane. As of this moment, not sure who White will be replacing, but the Great Britain replacement has gone in instead of the front row Brian Case.
I'd say it could be Mark McIntyre, but I could be wrong. Here's trouble.
Well, that was sloppy play from Great Britain. They tried to run it from their own line. And David Stevenson
dropping here's the replay. He was taking things far too cheaply. They're not afraid to tell each other what's going on behind the post there. They really ripped into him about that.
Well, Darren Smith is off and Chris White is on. So White replacing the lock forward and Darren Smith. So 28 points to 4. Do you think this Great Britain side, can win the next test against Australia, or do you think they gave it their best shot?
No, I don't think they've still got plenty in them, plenty of steam there. And these games are conditioning these key players. That's why Crooks is running around out here. And I'd say in the first test, if they'd made a few changes at the right time and had the player like Crooks to run him on 20 minutes near the end, he would have been the unsettler again for the Australian side. They had Australia unsettled, then they allowed them to get back in the match. And if they had a fellow like Crooks who come on and had them looking and look out, here he comes again, it could have been really curtains for Australia in that first test. And I know the Southern press are saying we changed this bloke and we changed that bloke. I don't care who you put in there. The Poms gave us plenty in that first test, and particularly in the first 3 quarters of the game.
So there's Ford losing the ball in the tackle. Lang has come up with it. Was going to be penalised. Stealing the ball. Penalties favouring Brisbane 11-3. Ford finds touch midway between the 22 and quarter inside Brisbane territory. 13 minutes to go. 28-4 is the lead for Great Britain. Paul Groves comes up to take the tap, and there's a bit of switch of play and a wrap around, and away they go.
I don't think the blind, Andrew Slack, I don't think the blind was quite wide enough to be working a move like that, was it?
No, there's only a couple of metres, but they didn't need the blind. They're up the middle.
Fairbank going across. Daunt will get him, and over comes Cherry. Carl Fairbank 10 metres out. Henderson Gill from dummy half. 5 metres out now, Great Britain. Groves, who's orchestrated things pretty well, running across. Hanley holding it up for Powell. Powell's dumped into the ground, and a good tackle from Mark McIntyre. Now Waddell. They keep it alive with Powell. heading straight for the line. That's gone loose. A fire couldn't hang on to it, and Barwick will play it for Brisbane right on the chalk.
Well, this is the sort of play that I'm sure the coach of Great Britain wouldn't like to, Malcolm really, wouldn't like to be seen happening. The sloppy players. We see a penalty here for, good Lord, all sorts of a mess. But this sort of loose, drop the ball play from Great Britain, it crept in the second half of the test, and it's here again tonight. And I feel, Andrew Slack, that it's a sort of they get a little bit, trying to fix things up too quickly.
Well, I wonder if at this stage of this game complacency might enter into it. I think in the test match conditioning was a key factor. I believe come the second and third test that won't be as much a factor as you mentioned earlier on. They will be fitter, they'll be more used to the conditions, and I think we'll see less of it. But the fellow guilty that last infringement, Roy Powell, I think he's had a great game all round, and he and perhaps Lee Crooks will really be pressing for test selection come the second test.
Well, you think by now that both teams would know that you can't reef the ball out. I don't know how many penalties that David Manson's given for that infringement tonight. You think you just give it away and let the bloke get up and play the ball. In fact, it's spoilt the game to a degree. But Brisbane have the ball. Outside the 22, 10.5 minutes remaining. Great Britain lead 28-4.
Here it is, Australia. Channel 9 proudly brings
Comes the cover, and Daunt goes to ground. Carl Fairbanks and Henderson Gill were the tacklers. Chris White, 32 metres out from the line. Holmes, cross to Haggarth. Haggarth